Before you know it, you'll know my name and how to pronounce it.
You'll know the meaning of ขอบคุณค่ะ
Before you know it, you'll call me son.
You call me daughter.
You call me brother.
You call us sisters.
Your family will make a difference in how America is perceived
and what America stands for.
And we invite you to welcome an exchange student like me to your home and your family.
For over 70 years, AFS USA has brought exchange students from around the world to study in the U.S. and live with an American family for a school year, semester, or 6 to 12 weeks. Before you know it, you'll be a proud AFS host family. Visit afsusa.org.
Sports Broadcast Solutions is a broadcasting network for everyone. SBS offers live telecasts on Channel 59.3, YouTube, or Twitch. We include pre- and post-game interviews with the players.
You know, I started in the locker room. All the boys were getting going before the game and stuff. And we kind of found a at the beginning of the game. So I think that's what got us going.
We also include live statistics, play-by-play commentary, team highlight reels, more than that. Go online to sportsbroadcastsolutions.com or search Sports Broadcast Solutions on YouTube. SBS, a broadcasting network for everyone.
Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Final is taking place between the Chicago Blackhawks and the Philadelphia Flyers. The final result will be an overtime win in Philadelphia. If the Flyers end up victorious, they'll still have to win a Game 7 in Chicago. It's a 3-3 tie in the first overtime, meaning this has been a moderate offensive explosion with some decent defense and goaltending squeeze in between this hockey contest. This is a huge game for Blackhawks fans, as their favorite hockey team has been a laughingstock in the Western Conference for most of the previous decade. For the Flyers, they're looking to bring back Stanley Cup glory to the city of brotherly love for the first time since the 1970s. To truly understand the importance of what happens next, we need to hit that left button on the VCR. In other words, we need to rewind. The Blackhawks are an overtime goal away from cementing their legacy in NHL history. But for a franchise who used to not even televise its home games, this seemed like a pipe dream even 5 years ago. Known for his severe cheapness, Blackhawks former owner Bill Wirtz decided to cancel all home broadcast agreements with network and cable television outlets in 1992. According to Wirtz and the Wirtz Corporation as a whole, home broadcasts were, quote, unfair to the team's season ticket holders, unquote. And as crazy as this decision was by Wirtz, fan attendance increased during the mid-1990s. Incredibly, without normal home broadcasts and overall television brand awareness about the team, the Hawks averaged over 19,300 fans during the mid-1990s at the United Center. This is how it worked. WGN and other media outlets couldn't broadcast the Blackhawks games at the United Center. But if a national broadcasting network such as ESPN decided the game, a Blackhawk fan could purchase HawkVision, a subscription network worth $29.99 per month. Then you could watch the ESPN broadcast of Blackhawks vs. Red Wings at the United Center on normal cable as a ticket at the UC. So the fans kept supporting the Blackhawks even though they couldn't watch their favorite team on TV. However, the product on the ice wasn't so great. As if it were a curse from the hockey gods, the Hawks kept finding different ways to choke in the playoffs. An original six team, the Hawks were at one time the second most cursed original six franchise. The New York Rangers went titleless from 1940 until 1994, and the Hawks now find themselves in the same place as the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Maple Leafs and the Hawks have not hoisted Lord Stanley's Cup since the 1960s. For the Hawks, it's been even worse. They haven't won it all since 1961, and before that, Chicago went 23 years without hoisting the Cup. The Maple Leafs have been a borderline disaster since 1967, but at least the Leafs were a dynasty in the 60s. The Hawks were lucky to even win the 1961 Stanley Cup. So yeah, the Hawks have pretty much been mediocre or worse since 1961. However, there were moments when the franchise seemed destined for championship glory. The worst moment for Chicago hockey fans was the 1971 Stanley Cup Final against the hated Montreal Canadiens. Without air conditioning at Old Chicago Stadium, the Hawks were the home team during Game 7 of the Finals against the Canadiens. Jumping out to an early 2-0 lead, legendary netminder Tony Esposito couldn't stop Jacques Lamar's 60-foot-away snapshot, giving the Canadiens their first goal of the contest. Chicago Tribune writer Bob Verdi said there was a humid haze hung over the ice, but Esposito refused to blame the rink's lack of air conditioning on the soft goal he gave up. He had a point, since Lamar's shot was nearly from the center line. The Canadiens never looked back and scored twice more to upset the Hawks and win 3-2 on Chicago's home ice. Since then, the Hawks have never been closer to winning the Cup as they were that day in 1971. That is, until tonight anyway. As painful as it was in 1971, Hawks fans who were still alive in 1992 had to be devastated at what happened next to Ed Belfour and Dominik Hasek. Incredibly, Eddie the Eagle Belfour and Dominik the Dominator Hasek were both on the Blackhawks at the same time. Two future Hall of Fame goalies were both on the Hawks, and yet the franchise still couldn't win a Stanley Cup with either netminder. Belfour was the starter during the brief Belfour-Hasek years. The Hawks made the 1992 Stanley Cup championship round with Belfour and Hasek both on the roster. It was also a Chicago team with Chris Chelios leading the defenseman, and forward Jeremy Roenick was on this Hawks team as well. Led by captain Dirk Graham, the Hawks went on a very impressive winning streak in the playoffs. After falling to a 2-1 series deficit to the St. Louis Blues, the Hawks won their next 3 games against the Blues, as well as back-to-back series sweeps against the Detroit Red Wings and the Edmonton Oilers. Just like that, 11 consecutive victories saw the Blackhawks 4 wins away from ending up as the last team standing. The only team in their proverbial way, the NHL's version of the Super Mario Brothers, otherwise known as Mario Lemieux and Jaromir Jagr. The Pittsburgh Penguins were the defending Cup champions, and after narrowly beating the Washington Capitals in Game 7 during Round 1, the Pens found their way in the finals thanks to winning 8 of their last 10 games. Hasek was probably Chicago's better goalie entering the playoffs, as the Dominator earned all rookie honors and went 10-4-1 during his 15 starts between the pipes. Between a contract holdout from Belfour and Crazy Eddie missing games this season.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another production of SBS, a broadcasting network for everyone. I'm Kyle Smith alongside my good friend and partner tonight, Bob Vilsoe, as DePaul College Prep is about to take on Fenwick High School in a crucial battle of the Chicago Catholic League. Partner DePaul College Prep won the state title last year, but Fenwick, that big win over St. Ignatius College Prep and Phoenix Gill, son of Kendall Gill, Fenwick looked really good. Granted, that game was at home, not on the road.
Well, you said it, in front of a lot of home crowd, though. In fact, that home crowd on Tuesday seems like it's much bigger than tonight. You'd expect that on Friday night, the fans would be absolutely stuffed with Fenwick players. But this is going to be an uphill battle for Fenwick tonight. DePaul Prep is 25-2, and Fenwick, of course, is only 15-9. In the league, DePaul is 5-0, and Fenwick is just 5-4. Non-league, Fenwick is 5-2, and DePaul is 10-1. Then you keep going. You know, DePaul, with that 25-2 record, they're 10-1 at home and 10-0 on the road. And then Fenwick, luckily they're at home. They're just 5-2 comparatively, right? And then 7-5, of course, on the road, but that's not where they're at. Average points per game. There's not as much difference as I thought there was going to be when I was looking at this. DePaul Prep at 25-2 is only scoring 57.9 points a game, and Fenwick's at 52.2 points a game. But when you watch them on Huddle, you see why. Their defense is absolutely stifling. And then you go back and you look at the roster at DePaul, and you see why it's a stifling defense. They've got a bunch of guys who are taller than the players I had when I was at Glenbrook North years ago. George Richardson, 6'6". Jonas Johnson, 6'6". Even Jack Hennessy, 6'3", and Kavami, the sharpshooter, 6'2". You keep going, right? Jalen McElroy in the middle, and he's going to be key. Number 23, he's going to be opposite Marshall tonight, 6'7". And then if that's not enough, Rashawn Porter, 6'6", and you have a luxury with Gus Donahue, a 6'4" sharpshooter, number 41 from the outside. DePaul on defense is just a stellar team. So when you come down to a prediction, I'm predicting that DePaul's going to win 60-40, and that's going to hold Fenwick way under their average. It's going to simply be because of that stifling defense. They do run a 2-3 defense. Fenwick does like to run a 1-3-1 half-court trap.
For Fenwick, I mean, we talked about they've had this homestand. They beat St. Ignatius. They dominated. Nathaniel Marshall, he is the guy to watch out for if you're DePaul College Prep. The big center, his best sport is football, but he can play a little basketball, too.
He can, and you just hit the key right on the nose. If you want Fenwick to win, this is how they have to do it. Macariola has to get hot from the outside, and he's good at driving. You have to let Dupree. You have to let Dupree roam and take his open shots, of course. But you need Marshall to stay under the hoop on defense and on offense. So he's got to get offensive rebounds. He has to play defense. He has to be the rim protector. And he has to not stay on the perimeter. He can't pull a Chris Bosh. He has to get under the boards and do all the Dennis Rodman type rebounding. He's about the only big guy that's going to be able to hang in there with DePaul. And if he gets in foul trouble, it's going to be real trouble for Fenwick.
I think Fenwick's going to win today, partner. I really do. The way they looked against St. Ignatius, I think this is a trap game for DePaul College Prep. And also, now that the crowd isn't there yet, they're going to get here in the next couple of minutes. It's a Friday night game. They came here in droves, and that was a Tuesday night game against St. Ignatius. Now it's a Friday night matchup. And DePaul College Prep, not as heated as a rival as the Battle of I-290 between St. Ignatius and Fenwick, but DePaul's the reigning state champion, and when the reigning state champion enters your gym, you know that the fans are going to come out in droves and try to anger and frustrate the opposing players.
Well, DePaul Prep, they're good at raining threes. So the question is going to be, can that student section that's underneath one of the hoops for half the game rattle the DePaul Prep shooters? Because they are just fantastic from three-point land. And then when and if they miss, they've got some really good offensive rebounding as well. But the real story for DePaul Prep isn't going to be the shooting from outside, although it's really, really good. It's the defense. They shoot the gaps very well. They don't look like they're in the passing gaps, but when you get just a little bit lazy with the pass and you put a little air under the ball, all of a sudden there's the DePaul Prep person there intercepting that kind of pass. So if you're Fenwick, you cannot get sloppy with lob passes. You got to be careful with bounce passes. Both of those are slower passes, right? So DePaul Prep is going to be looking for those errant passes. They have active hands going to the hoop, and they're very good at clearing the defensive boards. Hence why I don't think Fenwick is going to easily get to their average in this game.
What's your prediction, partner? I'm saying Fenwick 66, DePaul 64.
Yeah, I wish I could take your money and go to Vegas, but I think in this case I'm saying pretty much the opposite. I think DePaul is going to win 60-40. They're going to go. They're going to go over their average, and Fenwick is going to come way under their average. And the key for Fenwick is they got to get Marshall under the boards. And remember when he played against Frick earlier, he had no points. He was able to get shut down by a very good defender. Well, that's exactly what DePaul Prep has in McElroy and even Porter underneath the board. So Marshall's going to have some tough going today.
All right, we're going to take a break. Starting lineups and national anthem coming up next here on SBS, a broadcasting network for everyone. right, here we go. Tip-off between the DePaul College Prep Rams in the blue and the Fenwick Friars in the white and black. Nathaniel Marshall. He's going to be opposed by the opposing center and Rashawn Porter, 6'6" versus 6'5". And here we go. Tip-off, won by the Friars, and here we go. Friars, Cameron Hogan takes it as Fenwick looks to get an early lead. Macarola over to the right wing. Decree with it as Decree guarded closely by Porter. Nice pass inside to Hogan. Hogan, ill-advised pass, easily stolen by Kavami as Kavami will slow it down. First possession of the first half for the DePaul College Prep Rams.
And boy, did DePaul collapse on Hogan in the paint on that pass inside.
P.J. Chambers missed, but he gets his own board. Back over to the right wing side. Open three, no good. Second chance, no. And rebounded by Decree. They're looking to push. 3-on-3 the other way on the right wing side. Hogan will now slow it down. Over to Macchiarola.
And that's going to be one of the keys. Can Fenwick take good shots, and can they clean the boards? There was two real strong offensive board attempts there from DePaul Prep that Fenwick was able to stave off.
Macchiarola over to Decree. He's got Hogan on the corner.
They need to stay patient.
And surprising, they go with Frankie Hosty to get the start. Macchiarola thought about driving, finds Hogan, try to get it in stride. Getting a piece of it was McElroy as they stop play, and they're going to call a foul on DePaul.
Well, I don't know about this. This 2-3 zone is not something that Hogan should be posting up against. What they got to do is find a way to post Marshall up. Now there, Marshall playing Chris Bosch on the outside, needs to get underneath the hoop. I like the patience Fenwick is showing, though, but almost another turnover.
Did they get the timeout, or did the ball go out of bounds?
I think it's going to be a foul, and it looks like on Decree.
Fenwick basketball, they haven't updated the Jumbotron, so no fouls called for either team yet. That's a tough job, partner. You ever done the scoreboard downstairs? It is not easy. A lot of digits you have to input.
Yeah, it turns out it wasn't a foul on Decree. That's a good thing for Fenwick.
Yeah, no fouls for either team. Marshall, nice pump fake, but he traveled.
So the question is, did he lift his pivot foot before he was starting to throw the ball down onto the ground?
Right.
Tough call on that one.
Lift with the ball, not with your pivot foot. That's why they call it a ball fake. Right now, DePaul in the dark blue and Fenwick in the white. No score for either team. Up in the air, gets the shot off. Foul on the play, no shot, but Kavami will shoot two at the charity stripe.
Yeah, unfortunately, the arm was all draped over the shooter's arm. It's an easy call for the ref to make. It's those body fouls that are hard to call. But this one is, grabbed his elbow while he's shooting. It's an easy call. 2 shots.
First one good for Kavami.
Now, Fenwick has to feel fortunate that it's taken almost the first 2 minutes of the first quarter before DePaul Prep has finally scored. So that's a good sign for Fenwick.
Second one no good as Marshall with the rebound.
Talking with the coach on the side here. I like that.
Yeah, pretty cool. Hogan off the screen from Marshall.
He was at least looking down low for Marshall. That's a good sign.
They got to find a way to use somebody else but Marshall. And partner, that's good defense by DePaul. That's not really Macchiarola's game on the low block like that. Marshall wasn't open. They had to force it to Macchiarola, and DePaul read it all the way.
Yeah, Macchiarola is just a terrific player. Every time I watch him, I'm like, stop taking bad threes, but then they keep going in. And then he drives and scores, and then he gets fouled.
Right.
He does
Just
everything.
Posting up on the low block, though, that's more of a Marshall game than a Macchiarola game.
Well, and that's what Fenwick needs to do. There you go.
Wow.
Shot block.
Yeah. Jalen McElroy, one of the main reasons they won the state title last year.
Yeah, he was all over those huddle highlights. This guy is the real deal, that's for sure.
Marshall, nice isolation move and crossover dribble, finishes with the two-pointer, 2-1 lead for Fenwick.
Yeah, I'd like to see Marshall take that under. I don't know that Marshall shooting from the outside is going to be a long-term answer to beating DePaul.
McElroy, and they reach in.
Blocking foul on Hogan probably on that.
I mean, partner, once he gets to that low block, it's almost game over for the opposition.
Well, exactly, and that's why you need Marshall under there. At least if you plow into Marshall, they're going to call a charge. You plow into Hogan, and, well, not the same result. So Marshall, again, needs to be the big guy underneath and stay out of foul trouble, and probably not the best outside shooter, especially when you have Macariola and Decree. They're both terrific shooters, and Hogan's a good outside shooter as well. Jack O'Leary, kind of a good rebounder.
Fenwick with it now. Hogan over to Hosty. Hosty. And he sets it up for Decree. McElroy guarding. They're going to go to the bench. Will Fenwick. Over to Hosty. Macchiarola thought about the three. Decree fakes the three. Inside to Hosty. Nice pass. Hosty wasn't ready for it. And here comes DePaul. DCP, McElroy with a nice move, finishes with the layup. Partner, they got to find a way to stop him. 5-2 lead right now for the Friars. Big number 23 dominating right now for the Rams. Inside, nice pass by Marshall. And Hogan able to get it up, but that was tough as well, as on the contest was Rashawn Porter.
Boy, I thought that was going to get blocked, but they've done a good job posting up Hogan. They got a basket that time. Somewhere in their scouting report it says they can post Hogan up. I don't see how with the 2-3 zone that the DePaul team plays, but that's what they're trying to do. Hogan just naturally a good player, whether outside or inside.
Over to the three-point line. Now played on the left wing by Rob Walls. Nice pass on the baseline. And they're going to call a foul on the Friars. Decree can't believe it, but partner, I think that's the right call.
Yeah, that was a tough call. Marshall fell backwards. It could have been a charge, could have been a little bit of a push into Marshall's chest, but nope, they're going to call a block. And he goes right to the bench on that, and Fenwick can ill afford to lose Marshall off the court. There's nobody that's got his size and strength underneath.
McElroy right behind the three-point line. If Fenwick could have their way, they'd love to have McElroy behind the three-point arc the entire game, but that's not going to happen. Right wing side, McElroy guarded well in the lane. Nice pass to McElroy on the baseline. Decree got a piece of it. Last touch by Decree. We stop play at 3:37. So even though McElroy's kind of dominating right now, all that matters is the score, Bob, and it's only 5-4.
Exactly right. The only downside is Marshall's on the bench.
Off the backboard and in. Nice job using the window by Rashawn Porter. 7-4 lead. Fenwick just get a good shot. And partner, no shot clock, so Fenwick can take their time here.
Well, yeah, but we don't want to do one of those Metamora games where they hold the ball for the whole half.
Over to the corner. Pump fake by Costi. Three by Macchiarola. No good. Rebounded well by Chambers, as Chambers will take it himself. Chambers past the timeline.
Now, what I'd like to see Fenwick do on those shots, it looks like DePaul is jumping out of their shoes to block those shots. So fake the shot, go under, and get a two or three shot free throw attempt. And plus, you get an extra foul or two out of it. Maybe somebody fouls out.
That shot, no good. Rebounded well.
Again, good defense by Fenwick, forcing a bad shot.
So sorry, 33 is Jack O'Leary, 13 is Frankie Hosty. Played right now by Macchiarola.
Yeah, O'Leary kind of just does his job, whatever they need. You know, get rebounding over here, pick screens over there. Another
inside
lob.
to Marshall, bad pass. McElroy just lets it go out of bounds.
Yeah, over Decree's head. Again, they're trying to post up that 2-3, the person in the middle. I don't understand it. I think I would try to drive and then kick, but what they're doing is they're trying to post up and get a lob behind the middle defender on that 2-3 defense. Again, they saw something in the scouting report that says that works, because they've been trying it incessantly this first quarter. And they're only down 3, but just 2 baskets.
They swing it out to the right. Pass over to the corner, and 3-second call.
I wasn't counting, but offhand, that looked quick to me. I think maybe you got to replay that and see if DePaul deserved that 3-second call. That's a good thing about these games. You can play them back on YouTube. Just hit that little back arrow button and you get 5 more seconds of a replay.
Over to Macchiarola. Macchiarola thought about driving in. Double team comes. And then pass it over to O'Brien.
Yeah, it was an excellent double team to get the ball out of his hands. You have to focus on him on defense.
Macchiarola drives in. Gets his defender up in the air, but he traveled.
I thought he was going to get the foul I was talking about. He was on the ground, did what looked to me like a pump fake, got some DePaul players in the air. All he got to do is go up into the air and get hammered, but instead he dragged the pivot foot.
And Deontay Meeks into the game, just 5'6". Let's see if DePaul tries to exploit that. In the painted area, now to the corner and back to the top of the key. Up in the air, off the window, and no good. Rebounded by Meeks, as Meeks will set up the offense now. Meeks up in the air and shot no good, off the rim. Rebounded by DePaul. Here come the Rams. McElroy near the baseline. Good pass. And then setting it up to the paint. But offensive foul called against the Rams and a break for the Friars. And after all that, Bob, it's still just a one-possession lead.
What an excellent play on defense, though. Hosty just sat just outside the restricted zone, as if there is one in high school, and took a nice charge. Now, DePaul is very good on the break. In fact, I was watching them earlier, and they don't necessarily pass it to the outlet and then go for the break. They just skip the outlet pass and go running down to the court. That time, though, it was like a give and go and a backward pass, and very good anticipation on defense. This is tipped, so they're not going to lose the ball.
At the three-point line, driving in. Nice pass inside. Help comes on defense from the Rams. No one home to retrieve that pass. Intended target was Deontay Meeks. Good help defense delivered by Gus Donahue. And DePaul, if they want to, Parter, they can hold for the last shot.
Well, with a three-point lead, I think they're going to say, no, we're still going to take the best shot available.
Nice dunk that time by McElroy. McElroy with the thunderous dunk.
And I think the offensive coach is probably pretty happy they didn't hold the ball to the end of the period, right? Now Meeks holding it to the end here. I don't know. I think I prefer to take the best shot available rather than to eat the clock and take any shot like with 6 seconds to go. But we'll see what they do. 16 seconds now.
Meeks, nice drive, couldn't finish. Rebounded by DePaul, they've got time.
Yeah, he left enough time on the clock.
Three-point shot, wide open, got it! It's good by P.J. Chambers, 12-4 lead at the buzzer. No good, and part of McElroy. That dunk giving his team some momentum going into the end of the quarter.
Well, and watching those huddle highlights, too, DePaul is dangerous. There was one team, they had like a 23-2 lead. So they know how to clamp down in defense. And at the end of the day here, we're at the end of the first quarter, and Fenwick has only scored 2 baskets, and that's it, right? So a 12-4 lead. You don't look at the 8-point lead. You look at the fact that Fenwick's only scored 4 points. We were talking earlier about Fenwick not reaching their average. Maybe they're not going to get the 52 points. Well, you multiply this 4 times 4 quarters, they're only going to get 16 points at this rate. Now, we know it's not going to stay at this rate, right? But you got to be a little bit scared if you're Fenwick. That stifling defense from DePaul prep is just preventing Fenwick from scoring. Now, if Macarioli is going to get hot, he's going to have to get hot from behind the three-point line, like a Steph Curry type of three. But I think they got to stay patient and get post up Marshall and maybe hit a Hogan or something driving to the hoop. But they got to figure out how they can score more than 4 points on this defense. So DePaul prep is starting out with the ball in the second quarter here.
So it'll be played by Gus Donahue. And it was 7-4, but a huge dunk by McElroy. And that made it 9-4, and then the three-pointer by Chambers. And almost lost his dribble and traveled.
And this Donahue is a real good shooter. Took a fake that time.
Fenwick's got to be very quick on the perimeter, partner, because there's a lot of players on the Rams that can do quick shots. Into the lane, shot no good, but Rashawn Porter draws the contact, and if he makes it a 10-point lead, the pressure becomes more on the Friars.
Oh, it absolutely is on the Friars. Now Marshall with a second foul. That's not going to help. Yeah, actually, it looks like he's got his third foul. The board says Marshall's got 3 fouls. That's not going to go well at all. So they're going to have to somehow get back in this game without Marshall on the court a lot. Here he comes out of the game again. He's just up against it. There's some real big guys. There's some really good moves underneath, and he's really the only rim protector.
That one's good. Perfect at the line.
I think if Marshall goes back out there, he's got to do two things. First, stay on the ground, don't jump, right? And box out cleanly.
Wide open three for Hogan. Gets it to go.
And that's Fenwick's game. If they can get those wide open threes, they've got some shooters. Macariola, Hogan, Decree is a good shooter. They've got to move the ball around patiently until they get that open three and hope they get hot.
Deep beyond the arc. And then swinging it over to Chambers. Back to the top. Bounce pass to Chambers. Chambers drives, baseline. Layup no good. Offensive board Porter, and he stepped out to Chambers, and they'll stop the clock at 6:59.
I think they kind of forgot where the out of bounds was. It's that black area that says Fenwick on it.
That's true, partner. Meeks with it. Meeks will start his dribble. Over to Hogan. Hogan drives on McElroy. McElroy very quick on his feet defending. Swinging it over to the left. Meeks, the little guy, trying to get things going for this Fenwick offense. Macchiarola in the lane. The layup, no good, but he's fouled by McElroy. And that's what they got to do, Potter. They can't be afraid of McElroy. They got to attack him and hope he fouls.
Well, and Macariola has no fear. So he went into the basket, obviously expecting and body hunting and hoping for contact, and got it. Of course, after the shot, whether there's contact or not, he goes flying. Kind of like Mahomes. You notice I didn't do a LeBron comparison.
Well, it's only the second quarter.
Oh, yeah, give me the third quarter. I'll come up with a LeBron flop eventually.
Even though Michael Jordan, every other player does it.
And Michael Jordan never flopped. You're drunk.
I sent you the YouTube video. You're in denial.
I am. And I saw that video, and he got hammered in the stomach. That was no flop.
You're just a Michael Jordan idealist, not a realist. Passed over to Makai Kavami. Kavami went to East Prairie Elementary.
Another sharp shooter.
5-point lead for the Rams. Here comes the double. Kavami over to Chambers, and he traveled. I don't know, partner. It looked like there was contact. I mean, did he travel? Possibly, but the ball looked like it went out of bounds just as he was traveling.
That's exactly what it was. The ball just went off his knee out of bounds. He just mishandled it and threw it out of bounds toward the student section. He thought they needed a souvenir.
Right. I saw the travel signal by the ref, so that was, regardless, it was going to be Fenwick ball, but I don't think it was a travel. Anyways, Fenwick basketball at the free throw line as they swing it over to Thies. And was he out of bounds? They said McElroy was.
Yeah, what a nice defensive play. They were trying to post up Macariola, and then, just intercepted the lob pass. Landed unfortunately on the line.
Partner, when you're going up against a team that won the state title last year, look, different players, but a lot of the same players from last year's state championship team. How does Fenwick play and not be scared of playing the DePaul Rams?
Well, you have to continue to play the way that you know how to play, whatever that is. Now, Macariola got a nice little spin move inside. But you have to, whatever your identity is, you got to continue to play your identity. You can't change because you're playing a better team. So if you shoot a lot from outside, continue to shoot a lot from outside. If you get Hogan underneath a lot, and that's how you score a lot of points, do that. I think they need to be posting at Marshall personally, but Marshall right now is on the bench.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to bring him back in the game already with 2 fouls.
3.
Oh, he's got 3, wow. They swing it over the top of the key, wide open shot off the backboard, no. Rashawn Porter, they just cannot box him out right now. Another open 3. That one's no good. Offensive board briefly and then rebounded by Meeks. Getting past the timeline is Decree. They can tie it with a 3, and Meeks will play it at the top of the key. They've got a lot of 3-point shooters on the floor, partner, so if DePaul and Fenwick gets into a 3-point barrage contest, Fenwick can win that battle.
Well, and on defense, Fenwick needs to clear those boards. The only one underneath the boards was Thies. Everybody else is hoping for a long rebound. That's not going to work. Not when you have guys who are 6'7" rebounding.
Wide open is Macchiarola, no good. Meeks almost had it. It went off his hands and also off Chambers. It went off Chambers last, so it's Fenwick ball as checking in for the Friars is Caleb Burgeons.
Yeah, Fenwick's going to have a tough time on the boards without Marshall on the court. That's a fact. So right now, DePaul Prep can keep shooting, get those long rebounds, and take more shots. So Fenwick is going to have to make their shots, then clear the boards on the defensive side.
Fires it, no good. And Caleb Burgeon's at it briefly, then Decree gets it.
What a great offensive board, though. That's just pure hustle.
Hogan. McElroy not fooled by that crossover. He's now guarding Macchiarola. Macchiarola in the lane. Pump fake, turnaround jumper, no. And they're going to say it was last touch by Burgeons. I know it'll be DePaul basketball, but this is feeding right into the game plan for Coach Ferguson and this Friar team, partner, as DePaul is only up by 3 points.
I was just about to say, they're only down 3, and they're playing against a tough man-to-man defense right now. So DePaul's gotten out of the 2-3 for whatever reason, and Macariola can probably drive and draw a foul or get a couple baskets in that. But here, eventually, it's going to be real tough for Fenwick to clear those boards. DePaul with some patience, looking for a better shot. I like their patience.
Swing it over to the top. Wide open 3 for Chambers, no good. They are ice cold from downtown right now.
Yeah, and a great clear by Dupree, who got that defensive rebound. One shot and done. That's what Fenwick has to do. That could be an extra step. What are they going to call? Yeah.
It was at least 5 steps, if not 6. And back into the game for the Rams is Rashawn Porter.
So you're saying Dupree took a vacation? There's only 1 step too many. The pros do that all the time.
The pros make 5 steps too many. But then again, do you want to watch a basketball game where all you call are travels?
No, you only got to call a few and they'll stop doing it. These are very skilled players. They're only taking lots of steps because they're allowed to.
In the paint, that was way too easy for Porter, but...
Well, Macariola just isn't a post defender.
Yeah.
There's an offensive foul on Hogan. Let's see what they call.
It's definitely an offensive foul. Was it flagrant? You could make the argument, partner, it was directly near the face, but I think he got chest over face, so...
Well, flagrant is such a relative term. Absolutely it was flagrant. He pushed him hard with the elbow, but it shouldn't be a flagrant foul called.
Right, it wasn't to the face.
Again,
turnaround jumper. Yeah, Macariola boxes out.
So Dupree last time got the defensive rebound. Macariola this time the defensive rebound. That's what they need. They need the guards to come down and clear the boards.
Pump fake over to the right wing side. Spinorama off the glass. No. Rebounded. Past the timeline. That shot. And it's good by Chambers. Back to a 7-point lead.
That is so DePaul. Forget the outlet. Just run down court. Race everybody to the other basket and get a fast break basket. Now they're up 7. That 3-point lead suddenly changed.
Decree and Meeks looking to check in.
Now the encouraging thing here, Fenwick has scored 7 points so far in this quarter. That shot was hurried a bit.
Kleinschmidt telling his guys, we got to come together, space out well. They don't panic, though. That bounce pass to Porter, as getting a piece of it was Tommy Thies.
Oh, I want to replay that. It looked to me like a good block, but he probably got the arm on the block as well. But it was nice anticipation on defense regardless. Probably rather put him to the line than give him an easy layup. There was a game on Huddle where we saw that DePaul had a higher 3-point shooting percentage than from the free throw line. So maybe putting him on the free throw line a few times isn't bad strategy. We've got a lot of parents gathering here on the left with name tags. So it's got something set up for halftime in a minute 39.
Yeah, it's alumni night. As taking the free throw is Rashawn Porter. That shot's good.
How fun. I never got to go to one of my alumni night for our basketball team in high school. I'm jealous.
Maybe you just weren't that good of a basketball player. That's why you weren't selected for alumni night.
Yeah, maybe they did alumni night without me. Don't invite that Bob Vilsaway guy.
9-point edge for the Rams. And timeout called by Ferguson. We'll take a timeout as well. You're watching the Rams against the Friars here on SBS.
Before you know it, you'll know my name and how to pronounce it.
You'll know the meaning of ขอบคุณค่ะ
Before you know it, you'll call me son.
You call me daughter.
You call me brother.
You call us sisters.
Your family will make a difference in how America is perceived.
And what America stands for.
And we invite you to welcome an exchange student like me to your home and your family.
For over 70 years, AFS USA has brought exchange students from around the world to study in the U.S. and live with an American family for a school year, semester, or 6 to 12 weeks. Before you know it, you'll be a proud AFS host family. Visit afsusa.org.
Back to the action. Kyle Smith alongside Bob Vilsoe. As with a 9-point lead, Fenwick looking to get it done with a 3-point or a 2 to make things interesting going into the third quarter. It's been a low-scoring game thus far. This feeds into Fenwick, but they got to find a way to get it going from downtown. Meeks with it now. Over to the 3-point line. O'Leary has it, back to Meeks. Almost was a backcourt violation.
But again, this man-to-man defense is just stifling. Man-to-man defenses aren't usually this stifling. Ooh, Hogan, I think he should have taken that shot. A very aggressive man-to-man style of defense, and they don't foul. They do a great job moving their feet and staying between the defender and the basket. Very well-coached team, quick feet. Looks like Fenwick wants the last shot, and that's it. They're going to go down by, well, 7 or 6 or 9 here. That's their plan. So Meeks, if you shoot it, don't leave 10 seconds on the clock this time.
Meeks guarded right now by Chambers. 13 seconds left. As sagging off on defense is Chambers. Meeks driving in, switches hands, no good. Rebounded by McElroy. Last chance for DePaul at the buzzer. Good! A.J. Chambers with a beautiful shot. And just like that, it's a double-digit lead for DePaul College Prep. Right at the buzzer, Bob, just past the timeline, nothing but net.
That was the best Curry imitation you could come up with, right? The time winding down, couple seconds and a half, and he launches one, like you said, from another zip code, and it was a swish. Nothing but net, not even rim. So 12-point lead, so they've more than doubled their score. So if you take this, multiply it by 2, you get a 46-22 game.
We're going to take a break, and then we'll give you some halftime stats. It's 23-11 DePaul here on SBS, a broadcasting network for everyone.
Missing your child's sporting event just plain stinks. But you don't have to worry about that anymore, thanks to Sports Broadcast Solutions. SBS is a live broadcasting network, as well as covering your on-demand needs, recruiting videos, highlight reels, and much, much more.
We can broadcast live to any website, and we also post as much on-demand content as you need. For more information about SBS, check out our website at sportsbroadcastsolutions.com. Sports Broadcast Solutions, a broadcasting network for everyone.
Hey.
Performance psychology tips.
Before you know it, you'll know my name and how to pronounce it.
You know the meaning of ขอบคุณค่ะ
Before you know it, you'll call me son.
You call me daughter.
You call me brother.
You call us sisters.
Your family will make a difference in how America is perceived.
And what America stands for.
And we invite you to welcome an exchange student like me to your home and your family.
For over 70 years, AFS USA has brought exchange students from around the world to study in the U.S. and live with an American family for a school year, semester, or 6 to 12 weeks. Before you know it, you'll be a proud AFS host family. Visit afsusa.org. The Chicago White Sox are hosting Game 2 of the World Series against the Houston Astros. Tied 6-6 in the bottom of the ninth inning. Leadoff hitter Scott Podsednik is at the plate, and while Podsednik went to the All-Star game earlier this season, Sox manager Ozzie Guillen is definitely not anticipating a walk-off home run finish to this particular ballgame. The Sox lead 1-0 in the series, but a potential 2-0 series edge, or the game potentially going into extra innings, is just a taste of the drama both teams have experienced lately. This is just the second World Series game in Astros franchise history. And for the White Sox, last night's Game 1 win was the ball club's first World Series victory since Game 5 of the 1959 Fall Classic. Houston, meanwhile, is still looking for its first ever World Series win. Therefore, a lot is riding on this 2-1 pitch. So let's rewind.
Scott Podsednik, sometimes known simply as Scotty Pods by fans of the Southsiders, is starting to become a fan favorite. The White Sox had a formidable lineup of Carlos Lee, Bagley Ordonez, Paul Konerko, and Frank Thomas going into the 2005 offseason, but after finishing in second place to those pesky Minnesota Twins in 3 consecutive seasons, general manager Ken Williams pulled off one of the biggest blockbuster trades in Chi Sox history by dumping Lee's contract to the Milwaukee Brewers and acquiring the speedster in Podsednik. Just like that, Williams dumped a 30-homer, 100 RBI guy for the relatively unknown commodity in Podsednik. The theory was Podsednik would help bring a new dimension of speed and small ball mentality to the Sox. Williams wanted to change the direction of the franchise with a speedy and up-and-coming ball player who could frustrate opposing pitching staffs on the base pass, similar to what the Twins were doing with Lou Ford, Torrey Hunter, Luis Rivas, and Christian Guzman. And Williams' bold trade turned out to be a great one. The first half of the season saw Podsednik steal 4 bases in a game on 2 different occasions, with Scotty Pods making the All-Star team as the final vote candidate. His batting average hovered around 300, and he stole 59 bases for the Sox. The trade was still good for Milwaukee, as Lee finished with a career-high 32 home runs and 114 RBI. But the Brewers missed the playoffs in 2005, while the Palehosers won just their 4th division title since playoff reformatting went into effect during the late 60s. Williams actually changed the entire White Sox lineup. Frank Thomas was out most of the 2005 regular season and postseason due to a bone fracture. Ordonez signed with the Tigers during the 05 offseason. Jermaine Dye became the everyday right fielder, and Williams brought in 30-year-old Japanese rookie Tadahito Iguchi become the everyday second baseman and 2-hole hitter. Iguchi became a key cog in the Sox lineup, with his 3-run homer in Game 2 of the ALDS against the Boston Red Sox being the climax of a very impressive 3-game sweep at the hands of the defending champions.
Oh, crap. Damn it. I can't. Good evening, everybody. Kyle Smith alongside Bob Vilsoe. It's 23-11 in favor of DePaul College Prep. And partner P.J. Chambers struggled 2 of 7 from the field, but everybody else, including Rashawn Porter and Jalen McElroy.
This is a weird game. At halftime, you would think that all kinds of adjustments need to be made. But I'm thinking if you're DePaul Prep, don't make any adjustments. You're holding them to just 11 points in the whole first half. You need to score 23 more points, but to your point, if 1 or 2 of those shots from Chambers goes in, that's all they need, right? Fenwick, on the other hand, only had 4 points the first quarter. They got better, 7 points the second quarter, and most of that was without Marshall. So it's one of those things where they got to keep doing what they're doing in the second period, get that stop, and obviously make a basket at the other end. DePaul Prep, though, if it were me, I think I would try to get the ball down low again and really pressure the interior defense of Fenwick.
So here we go. Third quarter about to start. Ty Macchiarola was awful in that first half. 1 of 7 from the field.
Oh, last time you said that about him, he ended up with 26 points.
Well, he wasn't 1 of 7 in the first half that game. Marshall on the low block. He's guarded well by Porter, and it's going to be stolen away by the Rams. And back to what we saw in the first half, just DePaul creating so many problems for Fenwick on offense.
Well, it's their defense. They're so good on defense, and it translates to a lot of fast breaks, which you haven't seen too much of today.
Porter, pump fake at the corner, and then back to the top of the key. Kavami's been pretty quiet tonight, as has P.J. Chambers. Porter at the elbow. Porter in the lane. Does not get the friendly roll, and Macchiarola will rebound it.
Yeah, Macchiarola has to continue to rebound, make it so that DePaul only gets 1 shot.
And I'm surprised, partner, for a Friday night game, I thought we'd have more Fenwick fans, but I guess the Fenwick fans did not like the matchup tonight against DePaul College Prep.
Ah, it's date night. It's good weather. Whoop,
I thought Saturday night was date night. I thought Friday was party night and Saturday was date night. Bad pass, read well by Chambers, and he falls down, but able to keep his dribble as Hosty will get into the game soon. Decree guarding Chambers.
Well, and that pass underneath to O'Brien. O'Brien had to continue forward to the ball, just like a receiver in football. You got to go toward the quarterback. And it was easily intercepted.
Out to the wing. Marshall almost got the steal. Swinging it over to the right. Really low scoring game, just 23-11. Off the screen.
Both defenses are doing a great job. That's
a killer three if you're a Fenwick fan. Beautiful job by P.J. Chambers. Catch and shoot.
And what do you want? Marshall closed out on that about as well as anybody can.
Decree, his three. Good. Fenwick still in the game, partner, but if they can get a steal on this possession, that would really help things.
I like that Decree came up shooting right away.
Yeah, got the DePaul defense off balance, and Decree finished with the tray.
Well, he's a good open three shooter, and I like to see him shoot.
And he was quick on it. One pump fake and shoot.
Right.
To the corner.
I mean, they can't. I mean, I preach patience on offense, but you're down by 12. You know, Decree has the ball, and you're open at the three. Green light.
Macariola guards and swing it over to the right. Open triple. And that one's off the top of the rim. No good. And it's just not Makai Kavami game tonight, partner. But the good news is if you're a DePaul fan, they still have Rashawn Porter and Jalen McElroy doing Rashawn Porter and Jalen McElroy things.
Well, it's a road game, so it's hard to make those three-pointers on the road.
Even when they're open?
Well, anytime, yeah. You got the crowd going against you. Where's Anya?
Macariola off the glass, rebounded by McElroy. And McElroy, nice pass in transition. The fast break finish. Beautiful job by Rob Walls, but that's Jalen McElroy starting the play. Who says bigs can't pass?
Well, that's just it. They get the rebound and they go. They don't even hit the outlet. They just go. McElroy, a very good ball handler for a big guy.
Fenwick hanging in there. You'd like to see them get it back to single digits with under 2 to go.
Yeah, you used to be able to stop those fast breaks by guarding the outlet pass. That outlet pass can't happen, and then you stop the fast break. But that doesn't stop DePaul. They just tear down court. A little too aggressive on defense. They're going to call a foul here on Hogan.
So, partner, they pretty much shut down Nate Marshall today. How can Fenwick find a way to win this game without arguably their best player giving them much contribution?
Well, and that's been the knock on Marshall. When there's a 6'7" big guy on the other team that holds Marshall scoring down and makes it tough on Fenwick. So how does Fenwick get back in the game? It's got to be Decree shooting from three. Got to be patient, get that open shot and let him bomb away. Hopefully Macariola can get hot on those as well. Then you have two good shooters like this.
That shot, in and out, Decree on the attempt. We talked about DePaul's defense. During their 11-0 start, they gave up just 30 points a game. They held 8 of their 10 opponents to 30 or fewer points, while teams were shooting just 31% from the field, as that shot's good. And the blowout is very well within reach for the Rams. Timeout on the floor. We'll take a timeout as well. It's all Rams thus far, 33-16 here on SBS. (33-16). Kyle Smith alongside Bob Vilsaway. The shot at the buzzer, partner, it seemed like it changed the complexion of this game. P.J. Chambers, not an excellent shooting game for him today. He was just 2 of 7 in that first half. But that huge three right at the buzzer silenced the Fenwick crowd. Now it's a 17-point lead late in the third quarter for the Friars.
Right, and sometimes plays are worth more than the points that they got. That was a 3-point basket, but to your point, it just seemed to change. I don't know if the momentum is really going the other way, but it certainly pushed the momentum further in DePaul's direction. But here we are late in the third quarter, and they've doubled the score, 33-16, right? So 60-40, I wouldn't have thought I would have taken the under on 40, but so far that's what's happening.
P.J. Chambers shot 2 of 7. Excellent half for McElroy. Only had 2 attempts, but he was 2 of 2. 2 of 3 for Porter. That three-pointer for Hosty. Off the side of the rim, rebounded by Hogan. His shot, no good, off the side of the rim. After the Friars, no look save. And now in transition go the Rams to McElroy, the finish. 35-16, terrible pass, and the Rams can now make it 20+. Already up 19 to the baseline, off the backboard and in. 21-point lead, and partner, it looks like it's going to be all Rams tonight.
Well, that was careless, but Fenwick's pressing. They still think they could win the game, obviously, so they need to move up the court faster, and they're trying that. It's not working.
Decree, open triple. No good. Trying to get it was Meeks. It's last touch by number 1, and it'll be DePaul basketball.
I like that Meeks thing. You know, he is obviously about 2 feet shorter, right? So you wait till the big guy brings the ball down, and then you'll try to steal it then. So he poked at it, and, well, just went off Meeks instead of the other guy. But that's what you got to do when you're littler. Wait till the big guys bring the ball down low to you.
Nice pass. McElroy, pump fake, and the finish.
Again, the big guy's handling the ball. No need for an outlet. Just bring it right up the middle of the court. Unselfishly dished it. Got an easy basket.
He hasn't had to shoot the 3 tonight, partner, but he can do that. He shot the 3 against Totopoulos last season. That was a terrible shot. Had no chance of going in. Meanwhile, McElroy, again, the finish, 41-16.
Yeah, without Marshall, there's just no rim protection underneath. So they either got to get Marshall back in despite his 3 fouls or find some interior defense from another player. Which, this would be a good time in the season to find out who else can play defense underneath, because without Marshall, you can't be sunk like this.
So we'll stick with the action, partner. Looks like the Rams are going to hold on for the win today. When does Kleinschmidt decide to get rid of Porter and McElroy?
Yeah, great question. I think we've been in this spot before as announcers, right? And I think usually that happens right about the third period, at the end of the third period, starting the fourth. So maybe you won't see them in the fourth period at all.
Both teams avoiding fouling well. If that's one thing, a silver lining to talk about for the Friars, they've only committed 1 foul. But, I mean, it's hard to foul when McElroy's wide open underneath the hoop. Like, you're not going to foul him because he's just going to go to the charity stripe for the and one.
For the and one. I was just going to say that, right. It's going to be a 3-point basket instead of a 2-point basket if you foul him, so don't foul him.
Yeah, so they're not fouling because McElroy's wide open underneath the basket. No point fouling at that point.
Well, in DePaul, even though they're kind of an up-tempo team, they're also very patient on their up-tempos. Like we just said, they came down court. Could have probably, dunked it might be a strong word, but it was a nice dish off and an easy layup. An unselfish team. We don't really care who scores as long as somebody scores and we win the game. It's a well-coached team, very talented, very tall, very long, athletic.
According to Loyola coach Tim Livitino, this is the best defensive team that the Rams have ever had. And last season, DePaul defeated Bloomington Central to win the state title. Out of bounds.
No, it's a travel. So the fake and the guy flying by rattled him enough to move the pivot foot, or rattled the referee enough to think he moved the pivot foot, and they called it travel. That was a tough call. Again, I'd replay that and see.
McElroy calls for the ball. Beautiful pass, and with no shot clock, the Rams could just run some clock here, and they will.
Well, I think they felt like they didn't exactly have numbers on that drive, so take it out.
Right, and you're up 25 points. Does it really matter between being up 25 and 27?
Well, I don't think they're looking at the scoreboard. I think they're looking at how is the best way for us to score a basket on this possession. And on that one, they didn't have the numbers, so they brought the ball back out. I don't think they're thinking we're up by 25, let's just ice the game. I think they just didn't think they had a good shot.
I'm just saying some coaches teach, look, if it's not there, we're up 25. Nothing has gone wrong for us tonight. Why force something? We can run clock and force them to foul us to stop the clock.
Yeah, again, just a well-coached team. No numbers, don't shoot.
Spinorama. Look, Fenwick's a good team, too. I mean, they beat St. Ignatius handily in that one, but, I mean, you're looking at a next-level team right now in the DePaul College Prep Rams.
Yeah, it was fun watching Phoenix go. I remember years ago we watched Max Christie, right? And I had said, I'm not sure he's going to go pro. And suddenly he's on the Lakers dunking the ball against the Bulls.
Meeks with a nice drive, but partner, What's going wrong with Meeks? He just can't get that friendly roll off the glass into the hoop.
Well, I think it's hard when you're like 5 foot something and you're going against 6'7" trees in the middle. It's just, that changes your shot.
Switching hands, forcing the foul. That stops the clock, but two shots at the charity stripe coming up for the Rams as they'll go to the bench.
Yeah,
it'll be George Richardson to check in.
Yeah, I think if you're Meeks, you got to continue to drive, but you got to body hunt. So, and if you make the basket, you get 2, and then the and 1. If you get the body, but the shot still gets blocked, you still get 2 shots. So drive, but you got to go into the body. You got to go into the chest of the defender. He is a good player. It's just this interior defense is so big. Offensive rebound, oh no.
Just nothing's going right now for the Fenwick Friars. They swing it out. And Meeks, he's got a rush now, partner. I mean, you don't want to just hold the ball here. You got to get a quick basket.
Well, I think Fenwick's now no longer looking for the win. They're looking for good quality shots, good quality offensive sets. Learn how to win.
Get some momentum going into your next game.
Right. And, maybe close the score down a little bit and then be like, well, we beat them for 1 of the 4 quarters. That's a good sign.
Driving in, Macariola, that was a circus shot.
Well, he had to take it. It was near the buzzer, but it's probably not the shot the coach even wants him to take, right?
It was like a baseball pass at the hoop.
Right, and off his wrong hand, too. So he's spinning on left side, just shoots with his left hand, kind of threw up a prayer. I'm like, if you're a Macariola, is that the best shot you guys can get with 5 seconds to go? At least he didn't leave any time on the clock. Like those last couple of quarters when Meeks shot the ball, in both cases, DePaul came down and scored baskets after Meeks was allegedly taking the last shot of the quarter.
So we will take a quick break. It's 41-16 Rams here on SBS. Fourth quarter about to start. It was once a one-digit lead.
I like that, 1-digit lead.
And now it's double digits, 25-point lead right now for the DePaul College Prep Rams. And Mama said there'd be days like this, Bob Vilsaway. Mama said, and that's what's happening right now at Fenwick.
Well, we need 19 points for DePaul Prep, and we need 24 points for Fenwick in this last quarter to make the prediction right on.
Yeah, 60-40. I thought that Fenwick was going to pull off the upset today. I thought this might be a trap game for DePaul, but good job coaching this week for Tom Kleinschmidt. And he is just, even though he's up by 25, Kleinschmidt is still energetic and pumped up on the sideline, even though his team's up 25 points.
Well, he's got different players, and he's back to coaching. He's a good coach. He wants it done right, no matter what the score is, who you're playing.
Off the rim, no. Donahue boxes out. So is McElroy and Porter, are their days done?
It sure looks like it to me.
Mid-range jumper, no good. And Marshall just lets it go out of bounds.
Marshall back in. Well, let's see what Marshall can do now without the bigs and down clogging the lane.
Over to Macariola. They swing it to the left. Hogan with it now. Hogan lost his dribble. Over to Marshall, his spin move. Marshall in the lane. Kicks it out to the corner. Three-point shot. Hogan touched it last. Over the back called against the Rams' Donahue.
Yeah, Hogan had great position underneath. Went way high to get the rebound right and was pushed from behind from DePaul Prep. So a very nice rebounding job from Hogan.
DePaul College Prep won the state title last year. Three-pointer good by Decree. They won the 2A state title. They finished in third place in 2022 and 2019.
I sure like that out of bounds. Here's a steal. I sure like that out of bounds play they called. A wide open Decree after he circled around a couple of times. Like one of those Curry screens when you go around 3 different people and do 3 different circles, you get wide open at the 3-point line, and he sunk it.
Kleinschmidt is not happy with his reserves, and he's going to tell them about it in this timeout. We'll take a timeout as well. It's all Rams tonight here on SBS, a broadcasting network for everyone. To 21. As what do you think Tom Kleinschmidt was telling his players in that timeout, Bob?
It was all defense. On that out-of-bounds play, doesn't want an open shot from Decree, right? And then there was that steal before in the 2-and-1 break that Marshall got a basket on. So it was all about defense. But he can't help himself. He's just a teacher. Doesn't matter what the score is. Doesn't matter who's in. He's going to teach. That's a good thing. You want a passionate coach like that.
Chambers thought about the 3. Instead, it's passed to the corner and then retrieved at the top of the key at the corner. Inside, nice pass to the paint. Blocked. Reading it well is O'Leary. Decree has it now past the timeline. Now to Marshall. Marshall setting it up at the free throw line. Marshall setting up a play. Macariola for 3. He gets it to go.
And that's what he's good at. Open threes, and that was beyond the circle. He's going to be a good college player wherever he goes.
This game's not quite over yet, Parter. If Fenwick can get a couple of steals, as that shot's up, no good. Loose ball. Porter back in the game. We wondered if his day was done. McElroy also back in. Switches hands on the layup. Look at that board by McElroy, and shot no good. When he's that close to the hoop, Parter, you got no choice but to foul him. You just can't do a quick contest on him.
Well, and I like how DePaul is responding to all of this, too. Sure, Kleinschmidt's really laying into him, and maybe that's good, maybe that's not good. I'd probably let him play a little bit, right? But they're hustling. They are trying to get every point out of this game. They're not satisfied to win by 20. They want to win by 21. But no matter what the lead is, they want more.
Junior P.J. Chambers, who's now a senior this year, and just a sophomore, Makai Kavami was on that state championship 2A team that defeated Bloomington Central. They didn't just defeat them, partner. They demolished them, 65-41.
Well, you can see that in the 3A team. No, Kavami, being a sophomore, I didn't realize he played as a freshman, but he was all over the huddle highlights. This guy is a very, very good player.
They had 7 players in that state championship rotation, 6 return, as DePaul looks to repeat as champs. Meanwhile, Fenwick, if they can get a 3 here, things would get slightly interesting. Floater, no good. Gets his own board. Macariola can't get it back up. Loose ball, back on the floor. Kicking it out well to Hogan. And then setting it up to Marshall for 3. Marshall, no good. Hogan had it briefly. Calling for it is Porter, and foul by Fenwick. They had no choice but to foul their partner. Otherwise, it would have been a 2-on-1 the other way.
Yeah, that's what in the NBA now they're calling those take fouls, right?
It's a quick game, partner. It's only with 4:57 to go in the fourth quarter. It's only 8:07 p.m.
There's not a lot, and the reason for that, as you pointed out earlier, there's not a lot of fouls.
Yeah. When it was 41-16, how about this, partner? Jalen McElroy, 7 of 7 from the field. If that's not dominant, I don't know what is.
Well, and they're all from inside. They're like layups.
4 for 4 from the free throw line. That's why, you see 16 points. That can be a little misleading. He only scored 16. How dominant could he be? Well, he only had 7 shot attempts.
Yeah, right. Well, exactly. You want to be efficient with your shooting, clearly. He's got the range. He just isn't using it today. He's getting the ball underneath. He makes the layups, and now you're not going to miss those layups. That's what's happening. He's got, 14 points for the game?
He had 16 when it was 41-16. P.J. Chambers' his shooting has improved. He's now 4 of 9, 3 of 7 from 3. Just not Makai Kavame's day today. 0 of 5 from the field, 0 of 3 from downtown, and a very bad 1 of 4 from the free throw line. And, Bob, sometimes those days just happen to good players.
Well, and that's one of the reasons why they've only got 41 points, right? Like we said, their season average is 59. So they're 18 below it with only 4.5 minutes to go.
So it'll be an inbounds play. If DePaul wants, they can run some clock if they want to. Foul right on the inbounds play.
Yeah, I don't think Kleinschmidt's going to try to install his stall offense. I think he's going to continue to try to get the best shot he can, every possession he can. And, whatever the score is, he wants to win by more than that. So, don't look at the scoreboard. Just run every set like it's your last and do the best you can.
How do you guard a guy like Jalen McElroy?
With your body positioning. You got to stay between him and the hoop. Make him go through you or around you. Through you, it's a charge. Around you, well, it's not that easy.
Read well by the Friars. They got to score quickly, and then they got to go into their full court press.
Yeah, and then on defense, got to be big like Marshall.
Just not Makirola's day. Gets the ball back. That shot blocked by Porter. So what grade would you give the Rams today? I personally would give them a B+.
I can't disagree with that. I think that's a good spot for it. I mean, this Marshall team this team with Marshall on it is pretty good.
Hey, they got other players besides Nathaniel Marshall.
Right. So B+, all right. I think the coach would probably say more like a C+. I think he expects them to win by more. You can tell by the way he's acting with the score up only by 17, right? But
Bill Belichick, no days off mentality.
Yeah, but I think a B+ is pretty good.
They didn't shoot the ball particularly well today.
Well, just Chambers, right?
Yeah, but remember, Chambers at one point was 2 of 7, so that 4 of 9 is a little misleading. That's why it's cool to have these next-level analytics like real plus-minus. And, of course, in the NBA, they've got player efficiency rating. Fadeaway jumper, Meeks with the board, and stolen away. Coach Ferguson, you can see the frustration in his face, partner, but, it's just a really tough DePaul team, but you're right. I mean, Fenwick should have passed the ball better today.
Yeah, I don't know what DePaul was ranked, either 3rd or 8th in like 3A, so they're a tough one.
It also helps to have number 23 on your team.
Especially if you're Chicago.
Well, DePaul College Prep, their residence, their address is Chicago City proper. Meeks, bad pass, read well by Chambers, and he'll finish it with the layup. Back to over 20 points and the advantage for DePaul College Prep. And do you know what DePaul College Prep used to be called?
I don't know. DeSable? I don't know.
Gordon Tech. And that might have been a foul.
Yeah, you can tell I'm from the suburbs. I should know that.
You're such a suburbanite.
I am.
And, of course, Gordon Tech is located right next to Lane Tech. Big rivalry between DePaul CP and Lane Tech.
I'm also a North suburbanite, right? Because I think Montini is downstate.
Oh, yeah. You missed out on a lot of players to recruit since you're the head volleyball coach at Harper. A lot of good Lombard players that you didn't recruit because
we don't recruit those on purpose because we don't want them to go to college at DuPage.
So where do the Montini players go then if they don't go to COD?
Anywhere but a 2-year school, I hope. I learned my lesson when you recruit players from Rock Valley and then, oh, good idea, let me go to that 2-year school, and then they end up against you.
So it was all DePaul today. Jalen McElroy was the best player for either team. And he was really the difference. But Rashawn Porter and P.J. Chambers, they're good players, but Jalen McElroy is the difference maker.
Well, for sure. There's no doubt about that, right? At the same time, this is one really good team, a well-oiled machine. They do play together. They're very unselfish, and they're just, on defense, they just squelch anybody's offense. 24 points with 2 minutes to go in the game. I mean, that's well below a 52 average that Fenwick has.
So don't go anywhere. The post-game show brought to you by Sports Broadcast Solutions, a broadcasting network for everyone. Check us out at sportsbroadcastsolutions.com.
That's going to be a hard interview for anybody. Well, you got beat by a lot of points, but to a good team. So did you enjoy playing somebody that you are setting the gold standard?
I mean, if you want to win the state title, not saying that Fenwick's going to win the state title this year, but if you want to go far in the playoffs, you're going to have to play a team like this.
Well, and that's a real, obviously why I think Ferguson is disappointed, because when you play as a team like this, you want to get closer, right? And you're just not.
I don't think teams love to play the Boston Celtics on the road in the Garden, but you have to. It's it's on your schedule, and if you want to win the NBA championship, you're going to have to beat the Celtics anyway. Well, and here in high school, even in the pros like that, you play the Celtics multiple times, but here you play a team like this once, maybe twice, and you only get 1 or 2 barometer games like this. Yeah, and if it's in your division, you play them 4 times. If it's in your conference, you play them 3 times, and Eastern and Western Conference opponents, they play each other just twice. So it's a 19-point difference. Let's go that route. So a 60-40 was a 20-point prediction. Nice prediction. We're at 19 with 2 minute 47 to go. Yeah, you thought Chambers and Kavami were going to shoot better. They just didn't today, but you were right, 20-point lead. Let's blame it on the student fans who didn't really show up tonight. Yeah, it's not Fenwick's fault. It's the fans' fault. That's right. You got to support your team better. I know there's buy one, get one free at McDonald's and Burger King, but you got to be here. And that pretty much does in any chance of a Fenwick comeback. Things were looking somewhat bright for the Fenwick Friars when it was 20-11, and then that 3 at the buzzer, and then that was it. Well, and 3 fouls on Marshall really put a damper on it, too. He was the one big guy that could probably hang in there down low, and it turns out he couldn't. I mean, that was the Achilles heel for the Friars today. Not every team's best player is their center, but DePaul clearly their best player. And are they going to call it on the floor? Or the act of shooting? Yeah, it looks to me like it's going to be a shooting foul. That's interesting part. Usually they call that on the floor instead of in the act of shooting. There is no continuation rule in high school and college. Well, I mean, yes, there is. I mean, how many times did the ref blow the whistle, tweet, and then you still shoot the ball after that and it counts? Yeah, that's what this was. It's right. In the NBA, that's an automatic three-point play, but not always in high school and college. That shot no good. And a foul committed by Porter so he can exit the game. Yeah, that was intentional to exit the game, right. Fernando Rodriguez will get some playing time. McElroy's day officially done as well. Yeah, it was a good call by the referee. I might have not called that. Just didn't look like much of a foul. Up in the air, it's good. No call there. It could have been a block or a charge, but no call. They're just going to say less than a minute to play, just play. Just not Fenwick's day. The defense was okay. They weren't good on McElroy. Well, defense, I think, was good. I mean, 59 points is your season average, and you held, future state champion down 10 points under their average. Possible future state champion. Yeah. So, I mean, Fenwick has to be pleased with their defense. I don't think they've got things to adjust there. It was just a matter of they couldn't find a way to score against the stifling DePaul defense. They needed, and they went down low early to Hogan. They needed some open threes, I suppose, right? I like to try to drive it down low, but when you have these big guys that DePaul has, you might be better off getting open threes from the outside instead. But if they don't go in, you don't get offensive rebounds either. But, Fenwick's not going to be the only team that's not going to be able to not solve this DePaul team. 3-point shot for Macariola. That's what they needed early. And it definitely gets to you, Bob, when you're shooting 1 of 7 from the field. Your confidence weighs a little bit. Well, and that's 10 points for Macariola, so he's like 1/3 of the offensive output from Fenwick. Good trap. Trying to break through the double team. Macariola got a piece of it. He's a tough player. He is. Brock Servana also had the basketball. And DePaul will probably just hold the ball here. 10 seconds. Fenwick still playing. And that'll do it for the game. DePaul College Prep Well, partner, you said they were going to win by 20 points. You got the score wrong, but you were pretty close.
That was pretty close. Both teams needed 9 more points. It would have been right on. 20-point win, 20-point margin of victory. Fun game to watch. But I think we're watching something special with DePaul here.
Yeah, as long as Jalen McElroy can stay healthy, that has a team with the potential to win the state title. But meanwhile, for Fenwick, they're just going to have to look at the game film and evaluate what went wrong and how they can beat a team like DePaul going forward.
Well, yeah, well put. But I'm not sure that DePaul couldn't win without McElroy. I mean, the whole team is really good.
They were, but if you look at the stats,
well,
it was clearly McElroy's day. Chambers and Porter were role players, but the go-to one was McElroy down low.
Very, very skilled player and a well-coached team. And I like how Kleinschmidt continued to coach them even when they were ahead by 20. He's just a born teacher.
So we'll take a break. Post-game show coming up next here on SBS, a broadcasting network for everyone.
Day Major League Baseball team to never advance to the World Series, and you guessed it, the unluckiest of those MLB franchises is the one and only Seattle Mariners. In case you believe in curses, Mariners fans like to blame the team's unlucky ways on the curse of the Seattle Pilots. If you didn't know, the Pilots were actually the first MLB team in the history of Seattle baseball, but because fans didn't come to the games, Bud Selig and his ownership group bought the Pilots for $10.8 million to bring the franchise to Milwaukee. The Milwaukee Brewers began operations in 1970, meaning the Pilots only lasted 1 year in Seattle. The Pilots filed for bankruptcy on April 1st, 1970, and since then, Mariners fans have been subjected to lackluster baseball. If you're a fan of superstitions, the legend goes that because enough fans didn't attend the Pilot home games, a curse was put on the Brewers and any franchise that would materialize in Seattle thereafter. Since the Pilots left in 1970, the Brewers and Mariners have only played in one combined World Series. Even though the Mariners won 116 regular season games in 2001, the M's still didn't advance to the World Series after having to face off against the New York Yankees during the American League Championship Series. Fans like to point to the curse as the Pilots could have stayed in Seattle if there were more fans at the games. However, according to numerous reports, the situation at Sick's Stadium was so dire that fans couldn't even flush the toilets during home games. Sick's Stadium was reportedly called a pig pen by Oakland Athletics owner Chuck Finley, and the home of the Pilots only allowed 11,000 fans entering the 1969 season. Fans had every right to avoid attending Pilots games, especially since ticket prices for the Pilots were some of the highest in the league. Still, it's quite a coincidence that when the Mariners were 3 weeks away from playing in the 2001 American League Division Series, tragedy struck at the Twin Towers. Do I believe in curses? Absolutely not. But the Yankees were media darlings that October after what happened at the World Trade Center. The talk of baseball prior to September 11th was Ichiro Suzuki's incredible rookie season, and the Mariners looking to obtain the best regular season record in MLB history. But after 9/11, the Mariners were considered more of the indifferent Pacific Coast ball club than the rooting interests of fans. Bud Selig bought the Pilots, and since then, the Brewers 7. Did the baseball gods curse the Brewers for not allowing the Pilots enough time to establish a Seattle franchise? Time will only tell. For those of you who aren't superstitious, the reason for the Mariners' misfortunes have to do with crappy scouting, subsequent lowly draft selections, and overall player development. However, the history of low attendance continued with the early years of Mariners baseball. After the Commissioner's Office awarded Seattle another MLB franchise following the breach of contract lawsuit against the American League, the Mariners continue to have low attendance numbers, similar to the Pilots. The Mariners wouldn't have a winning season until 1991, and even when the ball club showed signs of winning, the M's traded away starting pitcher Bill Swift. Swift won the ERA crown in 1992 and finished third in Cy Young voting in 1993. Swift was traded to San Francisco following that 1991 winning season in Seattle. Things started to turn around during the early 90s once the new owner, Hiroshi Yamauchi, signed manager Lou Piniella. The Mariners would go on to win its first division title in 1995 and win its first postseason series. It was Seattle's first postseason appearance since the franchise began operations in 1977. In fact, if the Mariners hadn't won the 1995 American League West Division, the franchise could have easily left Seattle. The California Angels blew a 13-game lead over Seattle, and the Mariners defeated the Angels 9-1 in the one-game playoff for the AL West Division crown. But, as per the curse of the Seattle Pilots, the M's always find themselves just short of an American League pennant. The 95 ALCS featured two unlikely teams, the M's and the Cleveland Guardians. The Guardians, who hadn't won the pennant since 1954, were something of an underdog themselves. The 1995 season would be Seattle's third ever winning season, but they wouldn't play in the Fall Classic. The Indians/Guardians won the 1995 American League Championship Series 4-2, with the Mariners dumping their last 3 in the toilet. In fact, the Mariners went scoreless the last 15 innings of the ALCS. While the Mariners lost the Championship Series, it's still a season that many Seattle baseball fans remember fondly. Ken Griffey Jr.'s famous game-winning run in Game 5 of the division series against the Yankees inevitably led to the development of a video game, Ken Griffey Jr.'s winning run. Edgar Martinez's game-winning double from Game 5 was key in enticing the King County Council to vote on a stadium funding package to build the modern-day Safeco Field. With baseball now securely in Washington, the Mariners look to avenge its 1995 ALCS disappointment with a 1997 Fall Classic appearance. To do so, they need to first defeat the best record in the AL, the Baltimore Orioles. Incredibly, the Mariners were supposed to play the Indians, but due to the old rules of division foes not being allowed to play each other during the division series, the Mariners had to play against the best record in the American League, despite having a better record than Cleveland. Would the Mariners have fared better against Cleveland in a rematch from 1995? Who knows? Regardless, the M's lost the 1997 division series in 4 games. Randy Johnson was awful in the series, losing both games. The M's were even worse at home, as they lost games 1 and 2 by a combined score of 18-6. Seattle won Game 3 in Baltimore, but they only managed 2 hits at Camden Yards during Game 4, with one of those hits being a solo shot by Martinez. With basically no offense in Game 4, Randy Johnson gave up 2 runs in the bottom of the first inning, which turned out to be more than enough for the Orioles to eliminate the M's. Seattle would get back to the postseason in 2000, this time as the wildcard representative. In its first and still last ever postseason sweep, the Mariners surprisingly swept the number 1 seed in the White Sox to advance to its second ever ALCS. This time around, Derek Jeter and the Yankees achieved revenge against the Mariners. The M's fought hard, but the Yanks were just too much for Seattle. A 6-game playoff series win saw the Yankees eventually sweep the Mets for their 26th World Series title. The Yankees dominated the Mariners, as 3 of New York's wins were blowout victories. The Mariners' pitching staff just could not contain the Yankees, which was really unsettling because A-Rod led the ALCS in total bases. Seattle once again took on the Yankees in 2001, this time without Alex Rodriguez. However, Ichiro Suzuki won the unfathomable Gold Glove, Silver Slugger, Rookie of the Year, and MVP awards all in the same season as Seattle's leadoff hitter. The 2001 ALCS turned out to be even worse than 2000. With everyone seemingly rooting for the Yankees due to the events of 9/11, the Yankees became the must-watch underdogs. Remember, the Mariners entered the playoffs as the number 1 overall seed, but unlike the 1998 Yankees, who won 114 games, the 2001 Mariners didn't have a superstar besides Ichiro. Brett Boone had a career year with 37 homers and 141 RBI, but could he continue that 6% home run probability into the postseason? The 116-win Mariners entered the ALCS with Ichiro on a hot streak. Ichiro batted .600 in the 5-game division series against the Guardians, but he couldn't continue that streak into the championship series, as Seattle's most valuable player only hit .222 in the 5-game ALCS. The Yanks easily took care of the Mariners 4-1. Aaron Seeley lost all 3 of his decisions in the 2001 postseason, including Game 5 at Yankee Stadium, where those damn Yankees destroyed the M's 12-3. Mariners legend Edgar Martinez was a non-factor against the Yanks, and fellow 2001 All-Star John Olerud didn't fare much better. Since 2001, the Mariners have not made the postseason. As if the baseball gods hate Mariners fans, the M's have been eliminated on the last day of the season in 2014 and 2021. The M's have the longest playoff drought in all the 4 American professional sports. One of the main reasons for this is the absolutely bizarre trade that was made in 2008. The Mariners somehow thought that Eric Bedard, who had never played an All-Star game, was their missing piece. They gave away their top prospects in Adam Jones, Chris Tillman, and 3 other players for Bedard. Jones became a 5-time All-Star outfielder and helped lead the Orioles back to prominence in the American League East Division. Tillman was a 2003 All-Star who was a major contributor during Baltimore's run in the 2014 postseason. Remember, the Mariners finished 1 win shy of a wild card berth in 2014, but they traded all 5 of those players to Baltimore for Bedard. Bedard finished his career with a losing record, an ERA just under 4, and only lasted 4 seasons in Seattle. Things have been so bad in Seattle that Ichiro broke George Sisler's single-season hit record during a losing season, and Felix Hernandez won the Cy Young with a losing Mariners ball club. So are the Mariners cursed? Well, it sure is weird that the Brewers have never won the World Series, and the Mariners have never appeared in the World Series. If the former Seattle Pilot players wanted to curse Milwaukee and Seattle, it sure is working. Finally, keep in mind that the big unit, A-Rod, Ken Griffey the Kid Jr., and Edgar Papi Martinez were all on the same team, and the Mariners still couldn't make the World Series in 1995 and 1997. Adding insult to injury, A-Rod and the big unit won the World Series once they left Seattle. But do you think that the Mariners are cursed? Why can't the Emerald City ever host a World Series game? Make sure to comment below and subscribe to Sports Broadcast Solutions. 2010. Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Final is taking place between the Chicago Blackhawks and the Philadelphia Flyers. The final result will be an overtime win in Philadelphia. If the Flyers end up victorious, they'll still have to win a Game 7 in Chicago. It's a 3-3 tie in the first overtime, meaning this has been a moderate offensive explosion with some decent defense and goaltending squeeze in between this hockey contest. This is a huge game for Blackhawks fans, as their favorite hockey team has been a laughingstock in the Western Conference for most of the previous decade. For the Flyers, they're looking to bring back Stanley Cup glory to the city of brotherly love for the first time since the 1970s. To truly understand the importance of what happens next, we need to hit that left button on the VCR. In other words, we need to rewind. The Blackhawks are an overtime goal away from cementing their legacy in NHL history. But for a franchise who used to not even televise its home games, this seemed like a pipe dream even 5 years ago. Known for his severe cheapness, Blackhawks former owner Bill Wirtz decided to cancel all home broadcast agreements with network and cable television outlets in 1992. According to Wirtz and the Wirtz Corporation as a whole, home broadcasts were, quote, unfair to the team's season ticket holders, unquote. And as crazy as this decision was by Wirtz, fan attendance increased during the mid-1990s. Incredibly, without normal home broadcasts and overall television brand awareness about the team, the Hawks averaged over 19,300 fans during the mid-1990s at the United Center. This is how it worked. WGN and other media outlets couldn't broadcast the Blackhawks games at the United Center. But if a national broadcasting network such as ESPN decided to telecast the game, a Blackhawk fan could purchase Hawkvision, a subscription network worth $29.99 per month. Then you could watch the ESPN broadcast of Blackhawks vs. Red Wings at the United Center on normal cable television. It was pretty confusing, to be sure, and as you know, the internet wasn't big back then. If you were a big hockey fan and wanted to know about the Blackhawks, you either had to go to the game or wait for the hockey highlight on SportsCenter. Even then, hockey coverage wasn't big on ESPN, so it was in your best interest to purchase a ticket at the UC. So the fans kept supporting the Blackhawks even though they couldn't watch their favorite team on TV. However, the product on the ice wasn't so great. As if it were a curse from the hockey gods, the Hawks kept finding different ways to choke in the playoffs. An original six team, the Hawks were at one time the second most cursed original six franchise. The New York Rangers went titleless from 1940 until 1994, and the Hawks now find themselves in the same place as the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Maple Leafs and the Hawks have not hoisted Lord Stanley's Cup since the 1960s decade. For the Hawks, it's been even worse. They haven't won it all since 1961, and before that, Chicago went 23 years without hoisting the Cup. The Maple Leafs have been a borderline disaster since 1967, but at least the Leafs were a dynasty in the 60s. The Hawks were lucky to even win the 1961 Stanley Cup. So yeah, the Hawks have pretty much been mediocre or worse since 1961. However, there were moments when the franchise seemed destined for championship glory. The worst moment for Chicago hockey fans was the 1971 Stanley Cup Final against the hated Montreal Canadiens. Without air conditioning at Old Chicago Stadium, the Hawks were the home team during Game 7 of the Finals against the Canadiens. Jumping out to an early 2-0 lead, legendary netminder Tony Esposito couldn't stop Jacques Lamar's 60-foot-away snapshot, giving the Canadiens their first goal of the contest. Chicago Tribune writer Bob Verdi said there was a humid haze hung over the ice, but Esposito refused to blame the rink's lack of air conditioning on the soft goal he gave up. He had a point, since Lamar...